Paolo Maldini, Bertie Votts, Francesco Totti, some of the greatest footballers of all time have been one-club men, but what has long been a rare distinction is now teetering on the verge of extinction. Footballers have never changed clubs more frequently than they do now, and both managers and players have never been so disposable to clubs, who seem to be in endless transition cycles at least every 2 to 3 years. In light of this turbulence, subscriber Rish asked me via Instagram to take a look at which player at every Premier League team is most likely to become a one-club man. On that point, my apologies as ever if you have messaged me on Twitter, Instagram or via email, but despite my best efforts, I get more suggestions and messages than I can respond to while still making videos. The most surefire way to ensure that I see your suggestion is to comment with an idea that gets so many likes that it goes to the top of the comments. That way I can't miss it. Whilst Rish's request was for one-club men, I'm afraid I've had to discount loan moves, since some Premier League teams don't have a single first-team player who hasn't already played for another team in one capacity or another. Of course, in all likelihood, only a handful of current Premier League players, if that, will actually become one-club men, but these are just the most likely, in my eyes at least. Without further ado then, here's who I think is the most likely player to become a one-club man at each of the 20 Premier League teams. Arsenal. Emile Smith-Rowe. With some Premier League teams there isn't a great deal of choice with regards to potential one-club men, even excluding loan moves, but that isn't the case at Arsenal. Mikel Arteta's side have a string of talented youngsters who seem to have good long-term prospects within the first team, in addition to having a slightly more senior member of their squad in Hector Bellerin, who has also only ever been professionally contracted to the Gunners. Arsenal fans will hope that Bukayo Saka is the one-club man in their current ranks, since he seems the most promising of all their talented young players. But somehow, I can't see the Englishman sticking around at the Emirates for good. Emile Smith-Rowe seems like the perfect blend of good enough to become an Arsenal mainstay for years, but not so good as to have the type of ceiling that's going to force a move elsewhere, which you might say seems more likely with Saka. Quick, versatile and hard-working, Smith-Rowe has made 14 appearances for Arsenal this season, and he seems to be establishing himself with the club that he joined as a 10-year-old. Aston Villa. Jack Grealish. It was by the time I reached Aston Villa, when I first started planning this video, that I realised I was going to have to discount loan moves, since the Villa captain previously spent a season on loan in League One with Notts County that would discount him from being an official one-club man. That doesn't detract from the fact that Grealish is Villa through and through though, having been a lifelong fan who joined the club's youth ranks at the age of 6. Grealish's great-great-grandfather even played for Villa at the turn of the century, winning the 1905 FA Cup final with the club, before retiring for a life of crime by order of the Peaky Blinders. Grealish himself, now aged 25, has already made over 200 appearances for his boyhood club. He's currently showing form good enough to start for almost any team in English football, but having resisted big moves in the past, he is now captaining a team that looks to be going places. It's not unfathomable that a Manchester United or Liverpool could poach Grealish at some stage, but right now, he seems the most likely man to stick around at Villa forever, and he's undoubtedly good enough. Brighton and Hove Albion. Lewis Dunk. If I had to pick out 2 players from the 20 featured in the video who I felt were the most likely to retire at their current clubs, Lewis Dunk would be one of them. Like Jack Grealish, he has had a loan move, though he spent just a single month on loan at Bristol City, and he only made 3 appearances, at a time in which it looked as though his days at Brighton could be numbered. Dunk was largely dropped to the Amex for 2 seasons, but he fought his way back into first-team contention, under first Sami Hyypiä and then Chris Hughton, and he hasn't looked back since. Dunk has now made more than 300 appearances for his boyhood club, and for the last couple of seasons, the 29-year-old has been among the most dependable centre-backs in the Premier League. Burnley. Dwight McNeil. Most Burnley fans will be thrilled to keep hold of Dwight McNeil for the next 3 seasons, never mind for his entire career, having witnessed the impressive way in which he has broken through and developed during his early years at Turf Moor. It must be said, I highly doubt that Dwight McNeil will retire at Burnley, but the only other option for the Clarets is Jimmy Dunn, who has only made 5 first-team appearances for the club to date. McNeil is a silky and stylish wide man with great technique, and it's often felt that he would receive more plaudits were he playing for a more fashionable club. I've seen him linked with Newcastle United, Leicester City and Manchester United, but nothing too substantive, and Burnley fans will be hoping that it stays that way. Chelsea. Mason Mount. I was torn between Mason Mount and Reece James for Chelsea. I think that Reece James will make the right-back spot his own for the next decade at Stamford Bridge, and if the question was who's most likely to spend the next decade at Chelsea, I would go for him. However, for some unknown reason that I can't quite put my finger on, I feel as though he's quite likely to depart at some stage during his 30s, perhaps having been replaced, a little like Ashley Cole when he left for Roma following many years of stellar service to the Blues. Mason Mount has been the butt of one or two jokes for being either Gareth Southgate or previously Frank Lampard's golden boy, but he has been one of Chelsea's best performers this season, and it looks like he'll be keeping his spot under Thomas Tuchel. I doubt Mount will become a one-club man, and of course he can't become a proper one-club man since he's already been out on loan twice, but of all the players in this list, he's probably one of the most likely to stick around at his current club until he retires. Crystal Palace. Tyryck Mitchell. I must admit that there wasn't a great deal of choice at Selhurst Park, so Tyryck Mitchell takes this one almost by default. Though unlikely, the pacey young left-back is one of only a handful of players in this video who could become a bona fide one-club man, having never previously been out on loan. Born in Brent, Mitchell joined Palace from Brentford as an academy player at the age of 17. Now aged 21, he made his Premier League debut last season, and he has featured in 13 games in all competitions so far this term. Mitchell is the latest in a long line of fullbacks to have come out of Palace's youth ranks, and if he's good enough to hold down a starting berth, but not quite as good as Aaron Wan-Bissaka or Nathaniel Klein, then who knows, maybe he'll stick around for many years to come. Everton. Tom Davies. It's a similar story at Everton to the one at Crystal Palace, so whilst I don't think that Tom Davies will become a one-club man, he's pretty much my only option. In fairness, stranger things have happened. Davies is a Liverpool lad with Everton in his blood, and he has never played for anyone else, not even on loan. An industrious central midfielder who was showing a lot of promise only 2 or 3 years ago, Davies does seem to have dropped off a little in more recent times, and the arrival of a brand new midfield at Goodison Park probably hasn't helped his first team prospects under Carlo Ancelotti. Fulham. Marek RODAK. I thought I might be a bit screwed for Fulham off the top of my head before I remembered Marek RODAK. The 24-year-old Slovakian international can't get a look in at Craven Cottage at the moment due to the impressive form of on-loan Frenchman Alphonse Areola. If I were a betting man, I'd wager that Fulham will most likely get relegated this season, Areola will return to PSG, and RODAK will be reinstated as Fulham's number 1 back in the Championship. Even if that isn't the case though, there's a decent chance RODAK will be kept as a backup. Fulham know his worth, having performed well in the Championship, so whilst I highly doubt he'll retire in West London, he'll likely stick around until he gets itchy feet and decides he wants to start games every week. Leeds United. Kalvin Phillips. A bit of a no-brainer at Leeds. I think there's a decent chance that Kalvin Phillips could actually become a proper one-club man. Loan-free, Phillips has only ever played for Leeds at club level, in addition to having won 4 caps for England to date. Adored by the Leeds fans and transformed at Ellen Road into something quite spectacular by Marcelo Bielsa, you would expect Phillips to stay at Leeds at least for as long as the Argentine. Leeds born and bred though, Phillips may well stay at the club even beyond that, and whilst he has been excellent for Leeds, I doubt anyone would pay the kind of money required to get him out of Ellen Road at this moment in time. Of course, it's not unlikely that he could depart at some point in his 30s, but for now, I'd say he's among the strongest shouts to become a one-club man in this entire video. Leicester City. HAMZA Choudhury. I could have gone for Harvey Barnes, but between the two of them, I think Choudhury is the more likely to become a one-club man. Born in Leicestershire, Choudhury joined the Foxes' youth ranks at the age of 13, and at one stage, he was reportedly being monitored by some of Europe's biggest clubs. A firm offer never came in, and Choudhury continued to develop at the King Power Stadium. He has had a couple of loan moves, both to Burton Albion, and he now functions largely as a rotation option in Brendan Rodgers' side. Choudhury probably won't start to get really regular game time until, or if, Wilfred Ndidi leaves the club, but I don't get the impression that he's pushing for a move at all, or not yet at least. Liverpool. Trent Alexander-Arnold. There's no lack of options at Anfield, where I was spoilt for choice due to the likes of Nico Williams, Reece Williams and Curtis Jones, but personally, I've gone for Trent Alexander-Arnold. Much like Reece James, my suspicion is that Alexander-Arnold will nail down that right-back spot at Liverpool for at least a decade, but that he might move on to pastures new at some point during his 30s. I'm getting strong MLS vibes, don't ask why. Nonetheless, out of all the possible candidates, I think Alexander-Arnold is the most likely to be good enough and have the will to stay at Liverpool until the day he retires. So he takes this one. Manchester City. Phil Foden. I know England fans have a reputation for getting overexcited about young players and for putting too much pressure on them. But let's be honest, Phil Foden is better than Lionel Messi and Pelé combined. I am jesting of course, but he is bloody brilliant, and he's extremely un-English in style, and I mean that in the best possible way. A magnificent technician who is always looking to receive the ball on the half turn, drive at the opposition and make things happen. It wasn't too long ago that I had people in the comments claiming that I was overhyping him and that he was just average. Those people have gone distinctly quiet in recent months, and if Foden keeps his head down and decides to give his entire career to Manchester City, I think he has enough talent to become the citizens' greatest player of all time. So much for not getting carried away. Manchester United. Marcus Rashford. From Mason Greenwood to Dean Henderson and Scott McTominay, there are plenty of options at Old Trafford, but I'm going for the most experienced of the lot. Marcus Rashford is about to hit 250 appearances for Manchester United, with whom he has already bagged more than 80 goals. Rashford is a brilliant footballer with the attitude and dedication to match, and the end result is a 23-year-old who is already one of the best wide players in the division. A lifelong Manchester United fan, Rashford joined the Red Devils Academy at the age of 7, and personally, I can't see him leaving the club of his own volition. Manchester United have a bit of a history when it comes to one-club men, whether it be Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes or Gary Neville. And all things considered, I think Rashford is among the most likely potential one-club men in the league right now. Newcastle United. Paul Dummett. Without doubt the third most likely one-club man in this video, as far as I'm concerned, when one discounts loan moves, I'd say there's a pretty solid chance that Paul Dummett will retire at Newcastle United at this stage. The former Wales international, who was born in Newcastle, joined the club's youth ranks at the age of 8 and captained the team all the way up to reserve team level. Now aged 29, Dummett has rarely been a nailed-on starter at St James's Park, but he has racked up 162 appearances for the club in total. Equally capable of covering at left-back or centre-back, Dummett is a decent utility option for the Magpies, and given his age, you wouldn't be too shocked to see him never play for anyone else. Sheffield United. Keane Bryan. Unless I'm being a total nincompoop, and that certainly shouldn't be ruled out as an option, I can't really find anyone in the Sheffield United first team who could ever become a true one-club man. As far as I can tell, Keane Bryan is the best bet, having signed professional forms at Manchester City, but never actually registering a first-team appearance for the club, instead being sent out on loan to Bury and Oldham Athletic. He then signed for Sheffield United in 2018, where he has registered 11 appearances to date, and he has had a third spell out on loan, this time with Bolton Wanderers. Fairly versatile, but primarily a centre-back, I'd be surprised if Bryan retired at Bramall Lane, and even if he did, he wouldn't really be a one-club man by almost any measure. It is a terrible inclusion in all honesty, but it was the best I could do. Southampton. James Ward-Prowse. From a rubbish inclusion to a very good one, there's every chance that James Ward-Prowse will retire as a one-club man and an actual one-club man, given that he has never been out on loan. Aged 26, Ward-Prowse has already made more than 300 appearances for the Saints, and he's now arguably the club's best player, and, without doubt, their key cog in midfield. A tireless runner and set-piece specialist with an impressive range of passing, Ward-Prowse has to be knocking on the door of further involvement with England at this stage. Though he has been tremendous since Ralph Hasenhüttl took over at St Mary's, I can't see anyone coming in with the required fee to take him off their hands, and I think it's quite likely that he will at least spend his best years on the south coast, if not beyond. Tottenham Hotspur. Harry Kane. I could have gone for Harry Winks, but I think Tottenham will probably sell him quite soon, so I haven't. For a long time it seemed as though Harry Kane could leave Tottenham in pursuit of greater success on the trophy front, but now aged 27, the likelihood of a club coming in with the type of bid that would be necessary to turn Daniel Levy's head is diminishing with every passing season. Kane has been with Tottenham since the age of 11, and though he showed few signs of doing so during his spells out on loan, he has since become one of the best centre-forwards in the world during his time in North London. Kane has bagged 208 goals in 317 games for Spurs, and he's now one of the leading assist providers in the English game as well. Do I think he'll retire at Tottenham? No. Do I think he's more likely to retire at Tottenham than Harry Winks? Yes. Next. West Bromwich Albion. Carl Edwards. It was a toss-up between young Irish international Dara O'Shea and Dudley-born England under-20 forward Carl Edwards at West Bromwich Albion, and in the end, I've gone for the local lad. A skillful 22-year-old who can play out wide on the left, right, or through the middle, Edwards joined West Brom at the age of 6. He spent the 2017-18 season on loan at Exeter City, but since then, he has made 47 appearances for the Baggies, including 30 in all competitions as the club won promotion last season. West Ham United. Mark Noble. Mark Noble had loan moves to both Hull City and Ipswich Town earlier in his career, which tragically means he can never be a true one-club man, but that doesn't diminish his achievements at West Ham. Funnily enough, I can distinctly remember a Hull City fan sat behind me shouting, £1 million? For him, they must be having a laugh, after Noble made a wayward pass for the Tigers when I was younger, following a news story stating that £1 million was West Ham's asking price for the then England youth team international. As it turned out, £1 million would have been quite the bargain for Noble, but if true, West Ham will be delighted that no one took the bait. Noble has gone on to make over 500 appearances for his boyhood club, and discounting loan moves, as we are for the purpose of this video, Noble is without doubt the most likely one-club man in this video. Hammers fans will desperately hope that Declan Rice will also become a one-club man, but however likely or unlikely that is, Noble is the obvious choice and the right choice for West Ham United. Wolverhampton Wanderers. Kem Campbell. I really liked Morgan Gibbs-White, and for a while I was backing him to come good, whether that was at Wolves or elsewhere. But injury disrupted his recent loan spell at Swansea City, and I doubt that he has a future in Nuno Espirito Santo's first team. Kem Campbell, who is the youngest player and also the final player to feature in this video, may well have a future at Molineux though. Born in Birmingham, Campbell represents Wales at youth team level, and he has made just 3 first team appearances for Wolves to date. A bit of a midfield all-rounder, I'm told Campbell is very highly thought of in the Black Country, and though it's a bit preposterous to suggest where someone who only recently turned 18 will retire, I think he's my best bet for Wolves. So that is it for today's video, but thank you all as ever for watching, thank you to Rish for the suggestion, give us a like if you enjoyed today's video, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and do make sure that you are subscribed and have notifications turned on for HITC Sevens. You can also find me on Twitter or Instagram by the username @HITC Sevens should you wish to do so.